You've gathered survey data from an online tool such as Google Forms or SurveyMonkey, and now you don't know what to do with it. You'll have to work with it to create a data file that you can use to conduct statistical analysis. And this video should help. We will summarize the process and then focus specifically on assigning case numbers to electronic files and replacing words with numbers. This is the second of 3 videos related to preparing survey data for use with a statistical package such as SPSS. The first video focused on manual data entry, or how you might manually key in data from, say, paper and pencil surveys into Excel. The next video will walk through the steps of combining multiple Excel files, say one that contains your data from the hard copy questionnaires and one from an online survey, into one master data file. But this video focuses specifically on how to work with data that you gather via an online survey tool, such as Google Forms or SurveyMonkey. I'm assuming that you've used your knowledge of how to format your questions to make it easier for coding and analysis later. Before you begin, you will need to have the final questionnaire or survey instrument. This will have all of the questions and all of the possible responses on it. And of course, you will need the data file you downloaded from your online source, exported in Excel format. For ease of discussion, we'll assume that you are using Microsoft Office's Excel program for your spreadsheet, Google Forms for your online survey data collection, and SPSS for your statistical analysis package. But these steps should apply to other programs as well. There are proprietary online survey applications that will often make your job easier. But as I said earlier, I'm assuming that you are a poor, starving college student who has access to the free online survey function in Google Forms. And you might have access to SurveyMonkey, but be aware that at this time, the free version has a limit on the number of surveys or cases that you can collect. And while it will calculate frequencies, means, and some rudimentary crosstabs for you, it won't allow you to download the raw data or the actual responses without you having to pay for an upgrade. Both of these online survey tools, however, download your data using the full answers rather than numeric codes. Your steps here are to first download the file, then add case numbers, and then replace the word answers with numeric codes. However, if you are conducting multimodal research, say for example you're doing a telephone survey and an intercept survey as well as the online survey, then you will need to combine this data with another file. In this case, make sure that the case numbers in each of the files are different so that you don't have any duplicates. This is an example of what the Google Forms spreadsheet looks like online. Notice that the answers are yes and no, word answers, rather than ones and twos. Or as you can see over here on the side, we have seldom and occasionally rather than twos and threes and fours and fives. And when you export it into Excel, it looks the same way, all those yeses and nos and seldoms and occasionally. So while your first step is to assign a case number, your second step will be to convert the words to numbers. So let's do it. We're going to add case numbers and then replace text with numbers in Excel. Again, it's important to have the questionnaire in hand. First, let's go back to our original survey. This is the questionnaire. You've seen some of these questions before. We're going to pay attention to these yeses and nos, which we want to convert to ones and twos. And in particular, down here on the question 6 series, we're going to want to convert words such as much worse, worse, average, better, and much better to 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So we're replacing the answers, the word answers, with the coded answers. This is the file when you download it. First thing I want you to notice is across the top, these are what it identifies as the questions. So this one here says traditional print books. If you come to the questionnaire, you'll see traditional print books is question 1A. And then you'll see the same thing across. This is a newspaper, this is a magazine, an audiobook, etc. The second thing you'll notice is there's an additional column here. Google Forms identifies when somebody took the survey. So this person here took it on January 10th of 2013 at 17:38, which is really 5:38 p.m. So we'll want to add a case number. All you need to do is insert a column, type in on the top what it is. So we're going to call this case. And let's assume that we're going to start numbering it at case number 501. So here's 501, 502. And then, of course, if you know anything about Excel, you can just pull it down and you've got them all numbered. The second thing we want to do is to change these words, these yeses and nos, to ones and twos. So now we're going to come over here to Find and Select and hit Replace. Now the word yes, we want to replace with a 1. So you hit Replace All, and we've made 112 replacements. And the word no, we want to replace with a 2. Replace All, and we've got 161 replacements. So we'll close that up. Now we've already done all of that. You can do the same thing with how often you eat meals in the car, where seldom would be a 2, never would be a 1. But we're going to spend time on this question 6 series, which I talked about before. Here's that question 6 series. So here we're going to want to change it so that if it says much worse, it's a 1. If it says much better, it's a 5. So again, we will go ahead and select, and we will replace. And in this case, we want to replace a much worse with a 1, replace all, and there are 14 of them in here. So then we want to change worse to a 2, replace all, okay. Then we're going to want to do average and replace that with a 3, replace all. So the next one we would do would be, if we keep in the same order, we would have better, and that would be a 4. Replace all. But what you've noticed here is all of a sudden this used to say much better, but it replaced the word better with a 4. So you have two options here. The first is that you could change much for with a 5, or what I would prefer to do, just because I like to keep it easy and simple and make sure that I've done everything correctly, is undo that and then do a replace, and instead of replacing better with a 4, we're going to replace much better with a 5. So we're going to go out of order. There it goes. And now we can go through and change better to a 4. And then we've made all of those replacements. Now, after you finish doing all of the other conversions, then you'll be able to import it into an SPSS file or copy and paste it in. Processing time. What are the steps you would follow to prepare a data file from an online data collection tool such as Google Forms or SurveyMonkey? How might a data file downloaded from an online survey source differ from a file that you may have manually keyed? And what steps might you go through to change the text answers to number codes? Remember, just as in the case of manual data entry, if when you are conducting your statistical analysis you discover an error or want to adjust your data file, you can always back up a few steps and correct the error. Or if you end up getting more surveys, you can add them to your Excel data file and follow the steps. Then you can just append the new data by copying and pasting the additional data into SPSS. Regardless, you are now one step closer to actually seeing the results of your research.